Welcome back to the garden. It's a new year, it's January the 1st, and I'm going to be sowing my first seeds of the year. And for me, I'm going to start off with sweet pea and some chilies, and then tomatoes in a couple of weeks, and then we get into the really exciting stuff. So that's what today's video is going to be about, sweet peas and chilies. I'll start off by showing you around the greenhouse and what we're going to be using today. First job will be to mix up some compost. We're going to be using some seed compost here. This is a common brand in the UK. There are loads, obviously. I'm going to mix that with a bit of perlite to add aeration in a bucket and do loads and loads of that. And then I'm going to put many potfuls into these big trays. And the reason that is, it's January, it's cold, particularly here in North Yorkshire. And I'm going to put those into my frame behind with the lid down in the greenhouse in a box. And with any luck, that'll keep them warm enough to germinate and grow. It worked great last year, so things and toes crossed this year. And the last thing will be the chilies, which will be sown in this tray with a lid on. And I'm going to get a heat mat in this tray in the house, which I'll show you in a bit. So let's make a start. Right, as ever, step one is preparation. And this is the seed compost mixed in with a perlite. If I had some sand, I'd probably had some, I don't have any right now because it's quite claggy, but that will have to do. And I'm going to fill up as many pots as I can into the first tray over there. And then we'll see how we get on with the seeds. Okay, so now I've got lots of pots filled up with soil, mixed soil. These are a whole load of different type pots. They're all 3-inch, so across the surface 3 inches. So standard pot gauge, nothing particularly exciting if you want to get some to follow on. Lots of them are reused from other things, as you can see. So yeah, this is not a task where it really matters if you're particularly precise. Okay, so sweet pea. Why sweet pea? Sweet pea is always one of my first seeds to sow because it is able to germinate in cool temperatures like now. I live in the north of England, so it's often cool until at least March. And so I can grow them or germinate them in the greenhouse, which is relatively rare compared to other things until a bit later in the season. So that's why now. They're also really easy. So if you're looking for a plant that starts off in January to get things going, particularly for kids, go for sweet pea. It produces thousands and thousands of flowers. It lasts for weeks and weeks and weeks. Smells fantastic, looks great, can't really go wrong. So that's why I grow them. Now I'm showing you this because this is the very first stage. And I took these seeds out of a packet yesterday and I actually put them in water and they were in water for 24 hours. And then I just brought them out here in the garden, the towels just to dry them off so my hands don't get cold. And you can see, and there's an example there, they're starting to split. So that's the seeds rehydrating from being in water for 24 hours. And all that does is rehydrate the seed quicker, so it allows it to germinate faster. It's not that exciting. And to be honest, last year I forgot and it grew perfectly fine. So, you know, if you don't do that, don't worry about it. But it is, I recommend instead if you read books and stuff. So that's why I do it, but not essential. Okay. So let's talk about actually sowing them. And it is so simple. All I do is take some seeds and push them in the soil. Now I like to plant 3 per pot, because I find that gives you a nice little clump, because later on in the season I'm going to cut these back and I'll talk about that in a minute, but that allows a little clump. So what I'll start off with is I'll lay out 3 seeds in every pot like that, and then I'll show you when it's done. Okay, so now you can see I've got my seeds in there 3 per pot. And I'll be quite honest, the only reason I do that is because if I don't, I forget which ones I've got seeds in. That's it. It's just a me thing. You don't have to do that, but if you want to, it helps. And that done, all we need to do then is just push the seeds in the soil, maybe half a centimetre. That's all it is. I cover them up and then I'll leave them be. I'll probably give them a just a bit of water because the soil's pretty moist. I don't want them to rot. It's quite cold, as I say. And the forecast is to be cold for the next few days. So and they've already soaked, so they don't need much. And that's it. Okay, so I've got the sweet pea dough done. They're all in their trays, and I put them on the top because they're most likely to get some direct sun. That's south in here. And I'm going to cover them up in this mini greenhouse. This is obviously a frame from an external mini greenhouse, which I keep inside the big greenhouse for winter to keep the seeds as warm as possible. Now that's done, on to the chilies. Now, chilies. Why do I grow chilies? I'm going to be growing this year some, chili like that, hot chili. In North Yorkshire, it's actually really hard to grow them because it's quite cool. I keep them in the greenhouse once they're possible. I'm usually about April and move in here, but I have to start them in the house. It's too cold. So whilst I am going to be starting them in here in a seed tray, I'm going to carry them to the house in a minute and put them on a heat mat and leave them inside a sunny room. If you don't have a heat mat, over a radiator will be fine. The windowsill, anything like that, it needs to be warm to get them to germinate. The packet will probably say something like 20 degrees. I can't say, 18 and 20 degrees, there you go. So in the greenhouse, it won't work. I found that I have to keep them in there until at least April. Then it's warm enough to bring them into the greenhouse for them to grow on a bit. So they're a bit challenging, and really that's the only reason I grow them. We don't even eat very many chilies. I grow them because it's challenging, and that's fun, and that's really why I do this. Excuse me looking over my shoulder. I'm watching out for the chickens escaping. Right. So chilies, super simple. They're sold thinly underneath an aerosol. What I recommend you do is water the soil first because the seeds are very small. I'll try and get them on the camera. Hang on. Okay, that's it. So very small. I'm just going to sprinkle those onto the soil like that. And then we're just going to cover them with a very fine layer of soil. Like that. Actually, I'm going to use my press, which is over here. Okay. And that is just to firm the soil down the seeds. To germinate, the seeds need to be in contact with soil, and that's it. So they'll go into the house, they'll be underneath the cover, under a heat mat, and they'll probably take, I don't know, 2-3 weeks to germinate. And that's it for today. I tried to film this outtake 3 times now. I keep getting distracted by the chickens over there. So just tell you, that's it. That is my sweet pea and chili seeds sown. Those are the first ones. Next time I'll be sowing my tomatoes, and then we're going to get on with all sorts of different things. Chickens are over there, in case you're interested. I'm being quite loud today. But that's it. If you had some value from the video, please do give it a like and do subscribe for more. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.